Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're talking about the top 6 rogue strategies you should consider playing for the August 2020 format. This format is obviously impacted by Anniversary Box 2020, so we'll be talking about some decks, including those cards, as well as some other decks you may not have thought of. So guys, if you are new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss a video. If you guys want to help the channel out, there are tons of links down in the description to do so. Check out the Gemmy app, the Patreon for your crosswalk competitive articles, as well as your one-on-one coaching with yours truly. Check out deck protection for your sleeves, deck boxes, binders, all that good stuff. And if you want to buy or pre-order anything in this video, make sure to use my link in the description to TCG Player. That being said, guys, let's get started with our first deck. First up, we're talking about Toa. So the thing with Toa is she dominated a format probably 2 or 3 sets ago. She was really one of the hardest decks to beat. And it's kind of funny because back then, like, you know, she didn't have the best counterplays in the game, and Black never really has had the best counterplays in the game, but she was one of the best control, if not the best hand control deck in that format. And that's thanks to Mirror Creator Absorb. When he's played, if your leader's Toa or an Android, you basically rip 3 cards out of your opponent's hand, send them to the warp, and that was coming down as early as turn 4. Now, thanks to set 10, we have Mirror Faithful Servant. 2-drop 10k, activate main if you don't have any battle cards in play this card from your hand, then activate main, pay 3, choose 1 Mira with an original energy cost of 5 in your hand, and play it on top of this card. So I talked about this Mira in a video a while ago, just as a common card you should pick up. Whether you play Toa or not, it's a free play, but in Toa, that's really interesting because it's a free play that doesn't take up your Overwhelm for the turn. So you can free play this card, pay 3, go into Mira Self-Reformation. He says Absorb, choose a Toa in your warp and place it under this card. If your leader is a Toa or Android, choose 1 Mira in your deck with an original energy cost of 7, play it in active mode on top of this card, then shuffle your deck. He is also a Deflect, so basically this entire chain is pretty much safe from almost all counterplays. You can free play Mira, sure, they can counterplay it. Trunks counterplay won't do anything to it because if they put it back in your hand, you just play it again. Frieza Charismatic Villain, if you have another copy of Mirror Faithful Servant, you just free play it again. Your opponent's locked out of counterplays for the rest of the turn. Now, the thing I mentioned with Toa a second ago was that pretty much all of Toa's plays started on turn 4 back in that format where it was really dominant, and you were just playing a little bit of hand control in the beginning. You were trying to get your overwhelms out, trying to establish your Vegeta time regulator, but now you can start these plays as early as turn 3, which is kind of insane. So you can go like turn 1 Toki Toki into any of the 1-drops you want, probably the Kai blocker, maybe like, I don't know, Dende or No Escape Goku, whatever is more relevant for the situation. Turn 2, you can go into your Vegeta time regulator, start drawing cards off of that, and then turn 3, you can go into your Faithful Servant, into your Self-Reformation, and then you can go into your Mirror Assault from the Skies if you want to, but you're probably going to go into your Mirror Creator Absorbed to start ripping your opponent's hand. And that was the way that Toa won. You would just resolve the mirror chain turn after turn after turn, and the nice thing is you can get flipped relatively easily with some of the new mill cards we have in the game. But by turn 3, with the leader bursting, you should be able to awaken by turn 3 relatively easily, start giving your mirrors crits, going in for those giant double strike crits. That honestly makes Toa feel like a really strong rogue deck because it's immune to most counterplays. You can start ripping the opponent's hand as early as turn 3, and those huge double strike crits are really going to start to add up. So I definitely recommend playing with Toa, and I think most of the cards for the deck are cheap, especially since Creator Absorb was reprinted in the Anniversary Box, as well as Vegeta time regulator. So a pretty interesting deck to look at in my opinion. Next up, I want to talk about Dede Wish, a very cool deck to mess around with thanks to the new set 10 Frieza Xeno engine. So what the leader does, if you never played with it before, or if you are new, the leader basically lets you play yellow desires that aren't necessarily on theme with the yellow Dende support, but what it does is it allows you to play Revival of the Emperor, which lets you bring back 4-drop Friezas of any color from the drop area. The main one you're bringing back is a Mecha Frieza. Let you look at your opponent's hand, you pick a battle card in your opponent's hand, you play it in rest mode. Most often this is done to play super combos, so you can play the super combo, you can attack them with your leader if you're on your awakened side, or you can attack them with that same Mecha Frieza, because the Mecha Frieza is a 20k double strike, and you are essentially a hand control / resource control deck. So you don't always want to attack your opponent with the big beefy double strikers until you get to the end game, till the end of the game. So with that in mind, you're taking those Mecha Friezas, you're attacking those super combos or any other battle card you're playing to your opponent's board that you just don't want them to have, and then you're using 1-star ball, Parasitic Darkness in order to turn that Mecha Frieza into Frieza Dark Infestation. So basically what this card does is a double strike unique auto if your opponent has 3 or more energy, When this card is removed from battle area by a skill or KO'd, add up to 1 green extra card with an energy cost of 1 or less from your drop area to your hand. So with that being the case, when this thing is removed, you basically add back your 1-star ball, so you can repeat the chain over and over again. The activate main says, place this card in the owner's drop area, choose up to 1 card in your opponent's hand, and discard it. So the card has a way to remove itself, which triggers the ability to get back the 1-star ball. So there's just a ton of free play in this deck. You can cast Revive the Emperor for free because it is a wish leader. Wish leaders have the ability to cast desires for free as long as you have the appropriate amount of energy to do so. The front side of your leader mills so that you can get the Mecha Friezas into the drop area. You free play Revival the Emperor, you do your thing with it. Then you free play, or free cast rather, the 1-star ball Parasitic Menace, which lets you bring Frieza Dark Infestation out from the deck. You've done that all for free essentially. And one card I really like in this deck is Dangerous Journey Bulma, because if you happen to mill your Frieza Dark Infestations, you can't really do anything with them. You can't bring them out from the drop area with Revival of the Emperor because it's a Frieza Xeno, not a regular Frieza. So having Dangerous Journey Bulma to cycle those cards back into the deck, much like the AOD deck had to use back then when it was more popular with the blue Dende engine, that is a really good way to make the deck run a lot more smoothly. So I like this deck a lot as a rogue pick. Next up, we're talking about Cell Surge, another really good rogue pick in this format, and for multiple reasons. So Cell the Dark Parasite just gave this deck a whole new breath of life. What it does is it's a 9-drop 30k, has 2 activate mains. The first one is if your leader is a green yellow cell and you send this card from your drop area to your warp, you draw 1, then you have the option of taking a life. So basically when you use your cells top 5 on the unawakened side, you can discard this card, send it to the warp, draw a card, and self-awaken if you need to. So that gives you that much needed draw power the leader always needed. Also, it says if your leader is a green yellow cell, if you have 4 or more energy and you choose all your non-token battle cards, place them in the owner's drop area, place this card from your hand, play this card from your hand, and you can't play copies of this card for the turn. That basically gives you easy access to Cell Xeno secret rare plays because it's a free 9-drop. You have a ton of ways in this deck to get a 3-drop on board. Go into Cell Xeno, clean up that way. But I do want to shout out Eggman because he popularized a aggro version of the Surge Cell, which basically goes into using the free 4-cost surprise attack Frieza. You play that when you KO a battle card, and then you can do the same things that we talked about in the Wish Dende deck. Use the 1-star Parasitic Dragon Ball, go into your Frieza Dark Infestations, and just loop them off that way. Just attack, play the 1-star ball, attack with the new Frieza, and pop it off to rip a card out of your opponent's hand, get that ball back to your hand to just restart the chain. So very, very cool things with Cell Surge. A few different ways to play it. One's more hand control, one's more aggro. Definitely consider checking it out. Now we'll talk about some of the anniversary box stuff. Now I did talk about Frieza last week in my top 10 meta decks for this format, but I wasn't totally sold on the fact that it would be meta or not. But if it's not meta, I do definitely think it's a strong rogue pick. Frieza Prison's always been one of those decks that with the right support, like back in the Babidi set where you could play this with Kaioken Son Goku, the 7-drop red-green card, there's always been a deck that just with a few good cards has high potential to do a lot of things in the format. We've seen that before. So a lot of people wrote off the new Frieza support as soon as they saw it, and it was really when they saw Planet Vegeta's Final Moments. This card is kind of weird, but hear me out. So counterattack, negate the attack, then if your leader is a red Frieza BR, choose all of you and your opponent's leader cards and battle cards. They get minus 10,000 power for the turn. So the fact that this went minus 10 your own leader for the turn really made it seem like a bad piece of support, but there are a lot of factors that actually make it quite good. So if you pair it with Paralysis Technique, you pretty much board wipe everything 15k or less on your opponent's side of the field, and you basically make their leader 0 power, which is incredibly strong. But also using this card with Gotenks Unison of Rage, basically put your leader back at 15,000 power. And it is kind of meant to be used with Unison of Rage because you sometimes need this Unison in order to get your leader self-awakened, because sometimes your opponent just won't attack your leader. But besides that, the Frost Unison is an excellent piece of support. He has an uptick +1 that says look at the top 4, add any mono red extra card, and then he has a -2 that lets you buy back, or maybe a -3 that lets you buy back any 2 red extra cards from your drop area. So basically you use Let's Fight Another Day turn after turn after turn after turn and just keep buying it back. I'm actually gonna have some gameplay on the channel featuring this deck so you can see exactly what I mean, so make sure to stay tuned for that. But I do think it's a very good rogue deck. Sometimes has a bit of an issue closing out the game. Yeah, you have the Frieza Army Reborn Secret Rare, which is definitely not bad, but if someone can innovate a better way to close out the game, I think this deck will definitely do some pretty serious things. Next up, we're talking about Bojack. I do think the Bojack support from the anniversary box is quite interesting. the leader's always been kind of interesting because when you play a Bojack Brigade, you draw a card, but the one weird thing about the leader is his Awakening just didn't do anything. At 4 or less life, you could flip over, and that was always one of the big things that made this leader kind of like a laughing stock, as sad as it is to say, but Bojack Galactic Disruptor kind of fixes that. So 3 drop 15k, activate main if you have 2 or more Bojack Brigade in your battle area. Play this card from your hand, then you can't play copies of this card for the turn. The other activate main is if your leader card's yellow Bojack card on its front side, if you have 2 or more energy, you can discard this card from your hand, flip your leader to its back side, then draw 2 cards. So he basically creates or fixes 2 problems in the deck. 1, getting a Bojack to the field to then evolve on top of for your Bojack boss monster, and 2, letting your leader actually do something when he awakens. So basically you're pitching 1 card to draw 2 and flip over, and that also lets you trigger your leader's draw auto on both sides, which is quite good. So that is a great piece of support for the deck. Violent Rush Bojack, it's a good card in general. You don't necessarily need to play it in Bojack, but it is just a good arrival to pair with Zamasu Sacred Disbelief. You play this, you play the new or not new, but you play the Bojack Agent of Destruction blocker, tap a card when it's played. You're pretty much reviving this deck with a brand new engine. So I think it is another great deck to consider as well. Next up, guys, I want to talk about Prodigal Strike Super Saiyan Gotenks. Now, I don't think this deck is actually all that strong, but there is a reason why I'm recommending it as a rogue pick for this format, and I'm going to explain why. So Goku Legendary Fusion Warrior is an absolutely insane card. It has so much text on it. Basically, it searches out your fusion cards and it searches out your fusion pieces, which is absolutely incredible for any fusion deck, and it does support the leader quite well. Then you have Gotenks, the Grim Reaper of Justice. He's a 6-drop, deflect, dual attack, Union Fusion for 2, so oftentimes it could be a turn 2 or 3 play, and he's great for attacking unisons because of that dual attack deflect. Auto for leader cards are green Gotenks. When you play this card, draw 2, then shoot up to one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. His other effect is auto when this card's removed from your battle area by an opponent's skill or KO'd. Add up to 1 Sun Goten card and 1 Trunks Youth from your drop area to your hand. Now this leader got a ton of great support from the anniversary box, as well as that new Goten / Trunks card. You can't use that card as, you know, 1 card to fuse into a Gotenks like this. You need at least 2 copies of it, but it is still an amazing card for the deck. But I do want to recommend this. I do want to recommend people put this deck together because we've already gotten confirmation that we're getting a new green Gotenks leader in set 11. So basically my point is, if you build this deck now, play around with it, get used to the new main deck stuff that has come to support this leader, I think you're gonna have a really good time, a really easy time transitioning to that new Gotenks leader once it does come out, because that Gotenks leader and the new S3 Vegito Unison is looking quite powerful to pair together with this new fusion support. I think it's going to be quite good, so I do want to recommend it for that reason. But guys, anyway, this is the top 6 rogue decks for the August 2020 format. I want you to try them out. I want you to let me know in the comments below what you guys think about this list. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys next time.